Leo 8, a Bolshevik propagandist. The Bolsheviks won the Russian Revolution, and they began that task of overthrowing the tyranny of the Tsarist regime with very noble ideals and principles. And the people that really began it were young, ardent naval officers, actually, I think. And the Tsar was really oppressing the people very badly. There's a lot of poverty, starvation, lack of medical care. It was terrible to live in Russia under the Tsar. And so the Bolsheviks overthrew that tyranny. And the function of life is twofold. The function of life is both creative and destructive, and each are equally important. As much as the whole Russian Empire was created, again, based on wonderful ideals and principles, there came a time when enough's enough. We have to finish that. And the creative process has taken it too far. And then the other process, which is called entropy, came into play and started to destroy that which is no longer appropriate. Now, this is the function of forces of change, one to create, the other to destroy, and they're equally important. It's like saying that spring is better than autumn, if you think that the processes of creation are better than the processes of destruction. It is just not true. And so we have to come to terms with the fact that rebellion against a crystallized tyranny is an appropriate, healthy expression of our life energy. And of course it applies to us individually as well. These Sabian symbols are all metaphors, and the Bolshevik is just a metaphor for someone within ourselves, the rebel within ourselves, that does not approve of injustice and tyranny. We don't like oppressors. So we have that within ourselves, that not liking oppressors, and that is a rebellious force. And even if it is expressed impotently, even if it makes no difference, even if all you do is rant on Facebook to nobody's benefit at all, really, apart from your own, it's still worth the ranting. We mustn't let go of our right to rebel against injustice and the old. When the old is wrong, then it needs to be kicked out, typically by the young, actually. But certainly if it's not the young, then it's the young in spirit. It's those idealists with a new idea. A new age is being born. And as we speak, this is really quite clear that the old ways have come to their completion. There was a time when the building of enterprise and capital to support that enterprise was a wonderful thing, because that made the best of industrialization and spread wealth across the world, raised millions upon millions out of poverty, terrible oppression, and the oppression of poverty itself. Capitalism did that, but it's gone too far, and now there are revolutionary forces in the wind. Things are about to change. And we're studying here how that comes about, really. And it comes about first with propaganda. Propaganda is a message which kind of lacks balance. It's saying, this is the case, this is right, whatever you think, I don't care, this is right. That's what propaganda's like. And we tend to use that without realizing that we're using it. Those people that are propagandists think they're right, they really do, and they're trying to help. You have to impute fair and noble principles in the behavior of everyone, really, to get the total picture of what's going on. And those people that are ardent proclaimers against the treatment of minorities and the implications of climate change and coronavirus, all of these people speak with such certainty. I am right. This is wrong. That's the propaganda energy. And it's the energy of revolution. You're not going to get these people to talk in normal tones of voice and listen to other arguments. That won't happen. That's not the energy that we're in at the moment. The energy we are in at the moment is passionate persuasion by the hyperbole of oratory. People are going to speak as though they know the truth in order to raise the passions, to provoke rebellion. And that rebellion will certainly take the form of destruction, and not everything destroyed will be in the property of the bad guys. Quite a lot of innocents are likely to be brought in as collateral damage as this revolution occurs. But we have to understand that we are now in the foothills of the major revolution of our species. We've gone wrong, and who knows when that happened. We could trace it back to before the industrial age. We could actually trace it back to the implementation of agriculture if we wanted to. We're never going to know the truth of what went wrong, but we do know the truth that it has gone wrong. And therefore, it is our duty to do what we can to overthrow the false regime. They have not our permission to rule over us now. And we're talking about the billionaires and the others that don't care about ordinary people. We have to throw them out somehow. And it begins with propaganda. So we have to at least talk it up. Promote the idea that change is underway. It must occur. It is occurring. It is final and absolute. This old order is being kicked out. And there will be a process of some danger as that occurs. Now, this revolutionary force we're talking about is not only political and historical. It occurs in all ways. It occurs in our fashion, how we dress, our sexual morality, who's allowed to sleep with whom and with what bits of paper attached. It also, and this is quite important, applies to our knowledge of what we choose to represent as God. What is our relationship with the concept of God? We're not going to change God. God's absolute. But what we can do is change our perception of God. And we've been given false information about that over the centuries by power possessors who've corrupted the true word, and of poets and other writers who don't really record the facts of the matter, trying to raise our passions with propaganda. The information that we've received about the teachings of spiritual understandings and religion and philosophical understandings and morality and all of these things, all of that is subject to imperfection, and it's subject to entropy as well. Even ideas are subject to entropy. So what you've been told, what we have been taught at school, what we've learned from newspapers, all of this is wrong to some extent, and we have to replace that. So part of the revolution that's occurring right now is a revolution of our spiritual understanding. And if you come at spiritual understanding from a certain perspective, you can see that most of it is not only nonsense, it is dangerously so. Its purpose is to mess up the minds of the followers, get them to be obedient to concepts that they don't understand and they couldn't understand because they're mutually contradictory. Much of what is written in Scripture, it makes no sense whatever. And even when you try and interpret it poetically, it's some of it is really grim, really horrible and violent and unfair, and it's awful, some of the stuff written in Scriptures, really awful. And we keep on following, holding up these books and saying, I swear by the holy so-and-so that that this is the truth. Well, that's the one book in the world that you know for a fact does not represent truth. It's filled with lies and silliness and distortions and propaganda, because it was the revolutionary behavior of a certain group of people that wanted to kick out the tyrants of the day. And it was written as a very effective propaganda, but it wasn't really an explanation of what God is. That's something we have to work out for ourselves. We don't read a book and get told, that's it, that's God. That's no good. That's just going to lose yourself in somebody else's truth. You need to work it out for yourself. What's God for you? What's the absolute in your mind? Is it goodness? Is it love? What is it? But rebel against what you've been taught. It was wrong.